Clubhouse.
Welcome, everybody. How are you? It's another week of graduate power from John Jay College. This is Dr. Elsa Sofia Morotti, professor of public management. And today we have two distinguished guests. We have Dr. Jason Rivera, our chair of the Department of Public Management, our alumnus and also a professor. Dora Mendez, an MPA, and she's also have a business of Coach Dora LLC. So let me just begin for introducing you guys. I'm very excited. So I would like first, Dora, could you tell us a little bit about you? I was reading your resume. It's wonderful. Tell us about you.
Sure. So first, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. Thank you, Jason, for being such a great chair of the department. It's been so refreshing under your leadership. And so I just want to first thank you for inviting me. I am an alum. You're making me date myself from 2010. And I was recruited to be an adjunct professor. So I've also been teaching in the public management department in the undergraduate level for 15 years since graduating. And I loved my time at John Jay. Getting my MPA propelled my career. I started in law enforcement, investigating discrimination claims. I got burnt out, went to John Jay to get my master's because I still wanted to serve. I still wanted to work in the public sector. And then I learned there during my time that HR was really for me, human resources. I spent 12 years doing human resources in the nonprofit, in the philanthropic sector. And now I'm in the new phase of life, and I started my own business as a HR and DEI coach and consultant at Coach Dora LLC. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Dora. It's amazing all you can do with an MPA. And you can also have your own business, you can have your own work, and you are representing of that, your entrepreneur. What about Dr. Jason Rivera? Please tell us about you.
So I graduated from Rutgers Camden with my MPA back in 2008. So there, I'll date you just a little, and then I went back to get my PhD in public affairs, and we specialized. Well, the only specialty in the program at the time was community development. My background is in public affairs and public administration, but a lot of what I do is in relation to emergency management and working in the space of how do communities, typically historically marginalized communities, deal with government interventions or the lack of governmental interventions in disaster and emergency management situations. And so I came to John Jay about 2-3 years ago as a regular faculty member. And then last year I was voted into being chair of this department. And so thank you, Dora. I appreciate your very, very kind, positive words. It's really very good to hear those things. It's very reassuring. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now let's talk about Dora, your experience. I would want you to go back to the time you were MPA student. I know it was a some time ago. What do you remember about your courses, your professor? What do you remember the most about your time?
I love my time because I was able to, I figured out like what the next stage in my career was. Going through, and I was working full time. I was working full time as an investigator for the state, for the commission of the, for the State Division of Human Rights. I was working full time. And I was going to school at night and on weekends, and the flexibility was amazing to be able to do that. And because of the work there, I figured out that human resources was for me because of the coursework. And I also got to work closely with my professors. Maria D'Agostino, your colleague, our colleague, was one of my professors. And I worked with her, and she was the one who recruited me to teach. And we still work together with IGIPS, with the Gender in Public Service organization, always supporting women in the field because we're underrepresented in law enforcement. And so it's been wonderful to work with her all through these years. And I've stayed connected with my classmates. I got hired by one of my classmates to coach them, provide coaching, and so staying. So it was just it really propelled my career and propelled my experience and opened doors that I never thought I would do. I never thought I'd be a professor. I never thought um, all of those things, and so it really was a great experience. And we weren't online like we are now. So staying, I'm so I feel really lucky to stay connected to the school because I keep learning and growing, continuous improvement. I learn from the students. I hope as much as they learn from me, and it helps me keep up with the time and stay on trends and understand what the next generation of leaders care about.
That's very good. Now we have classes online. That we have different things.
I had to walk to the library.
You have to walk to the library.
I had to actually walk to the library.
I wonder if people know where the library is now. So, Dr. Rivera, tell us about our student population in the MPA. Somebody who wants to come, what they will find? Ages, part-time, full-time, working full-time. What they will find?
So since Dora was a student here, we've expanded our program offerings to 2 MPA majors, right? So we have the inspection and oversight MPA specialization or focus, and then we also have the public policy and affairs focus. And as Dora pointed out, as she was a student, she was also a full-time working individual. Many of our students are part-time students or full-time students working full-time jobs, right? And so our student body is in some ways a little bit different than a lot of MPA programs out there in the world. Majority of our students are first-generational college students, let alone graduate students. And they are also people with not only full-time jobs. The majority of our students have outside responsibilities, whether or not they be children, whether or not they be dependent, other dependent adults like parents or other members of their family. And so there's a lot of people within our program that come from real world circumstances, and we really cater our curriculum to meet their needs in academia so they can move forward in what they want to do. MPA degrees, as many of you already know out in the virtual space, it's a terminal degree. We prepare people to walk into management level jobs within public service, whether or not that be in the public sector, generally speaking, so traditional local and county governments, but then also the federal government. But a large number of our students, I would argue, particularly in the last several years, are more advocacy focused. And so many of the students that we have in our programs are very much interested in getting into the nonprofit management space, into managing faith-based organizations at the broad national and international levels. And so our student body is very, very diverse. I mean, it goes as far as demographics are concerned. It ranges in relation to students fresh out of undergrad, so that would be around 22, 23, 24 years old, through students that are in their 70s and 80s. And so it really runs the gamut. However, I would say we have in our classes, we have a good mix between, again, students right out of undergrad and those that are mid-career to late career level individuals.
That's good. And people are coming. Here it is. Dial and say hi, Dora. So you have your fans, Dora, coming. A lot of people are coming. I will be telling the questions.
That's my husband.
Yeah. So, Dora, will you talk about your challenges the challenges you have that working and studying. Could you tell us more about what challenges you experienced while you were a student?
So what I did, I was not disciplined because it was almost 11 years from college to graduate school. And so things had changed very much. So the challenge for me was making sure the technology, getting up to date with the technology. And also I had to just rediscipline myself on like studying. So I will share, I really appreciated having Saturday classes. Because what I would do is I would take a Saturday class in the morning and stay on campus all day. Because during the week I was so busy. I would read on the subway to and fro work. I would read during lunch, but I was so busy that I that was the challenge. So having to so I just stayed all day Saturday. That was like my study day, my homework day, my research day. And that was the challenge. But then I just built up a routine. And that's how I overcame that challenge. And then I was relieved. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this whole going to the library online. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go look at cards and pull books from shelves. I was like, oh my gosh. So that was actually a challenge. I thought it was going to be a challenge, but then I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, time change. So the challenges are interesting because it's part of the story. It's part of the story. The time you go with the library looking for the book and the book is not there. I mean, it's part of the story, a part of the learning process, and something that I appreciate. Besides, you mentioned the challenge, I appreciate the networking. The fact that one of your classmates so got to another extra job. I think that's something that we really motivate in our programs. Jason, what other challenges do you think our students are having? Or actually, besides the challenge, also what skills they are acquiring in order to get those jobs as well?
So in relation to the challenges, and we just finished looking at a graduate survey, alumni survey from our recent graduates and individuals that are in the process of completing. And many of the students mentioned that what Dora had just pointed out, it's an issue of trying to balance their workload, their professional workload, and also the academic workload. As I mentioned previously, a lot of our students are not only full-time working adults, but individuals mid to late career, right? And in that fact, many of our students have the challenge of re-entering school and classes when they haven't stepped inside of a classroom in 15, 20 years in some cases, right? So learning how to be a student all over again is extremely difficult and challenging for many of our students. But as I mentioned, time management is something that not only affects our students, but it affects all students in the MPA programs across the country and globally, especially when you're dealing with a full-time work schedule on top of this. But again, as I pointed out in relation to the skill sets that students should be taking out of our programs, is what Dora had pointed out is networking. Right? It's a soft skill that we don't necessarily teach as a concept in class, but it's profoundly important to our careers. Right? We had an event for our grad students a few weeks ago, and when I addressed the crowd, I really said, look around, your fellow students, your fellow classmates, your professors, the other people, the alumni in these rooms. You're not just meeting them to say hello and get another just name on Facebook or LinkedIn. These are people that more than likely will help you get a job, or you may help them get a job in the future. You never know what the connections may yield. And that's been standard across every institution I've worked at in MPA programs. The people you go to class with are your professional networks to jobs, right? But then outside of networking are some of the more technical skills that are important to get from an MPA program, particularly analytic skills or the ability to consume research, right? To be able to understand, well, what's good research and what's not good research, to be able to identify what's junk and what's helpful for the organization that you work at. what's also an important skill to really take is writing. And although one of the things that we try to instill in all our students is that there is an immense need to be good writers, to convey the information that you have or you're trying to argue or convince others of. If you cannot write in an email proficiently, if you come across as non-coherent or non able to really convey what you mean, you can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but people will not listen to it. And so those are the two big skills that I would argue are transferable across any job space that you're trying to get into, in addition to the soft skill of networking and being able to talk to other human beings and carry on conversations.
That's important. All the skills that we have. I have more for you, more fans coming for Dora. It says of course,
Those are my
kids. Fans more now than Mateo. They're looking at you. That's good. That's good. I know that shows that you're human and your kids are checking on you and proud of their mother. I have another question. Sorry, Jason, for you. There's asking about what is the difference between online and in-presence masters.
So the coursework is the same. The only difference between the online versus in person is the modality in which you take the classes. In both situations, when you matriculate into one of those programs, whatever you've chosen to matriculate into, the college keeps you to that. So, for example, if you come in as a in-person student or you matriculate as an in-person student, the majority of your classes have to be taken in person, and vice versa with online. So if you come in as an online student, the majority of your classes have to be taken online. Now, again, the school provides some wiggle room because there are classes that students may feel, for example, are not conducive to being online for them, right? I teach research methods often, and many times students, even online students, would prefer to have that in a face-to-face, in-person format, even if they are an online student, because that's the way they learn that material better. So those are the real differences, but the coursework is completely the same. The classes are completely the same. Go ahead, Dora.
I just wanted to add, because I teach an online class, my class used to be hybrid before COVID, where we would meet one day a week, and then we have it online, and now it's 100% online. I would add that I work really hard to create spaces so that the students can network. So I have them do team projects so that they can have that networking time, because it is different. The modality is different, even though the coursework is the same. There is a little bit of that interaction that you miss when you go online. And so I take it upon myself, and I know it's encouraged in the department to try to help the students, network somehow in those virtual spaces.
And you're right? So what I would argue about having the interaction, it's also what you as a student make of it, right? Some students are extremely interactive in an online format. And then in other cases, sometimes it's very difficult to pull interactions out of students, I find, in some of my discussion boards or interactions. And so what I always try to tell students especially in asynchronous online class, is try to interact with others. The more you put in the discussion board, the more you comment on people's posts or pages or whatever, the more they'll respond to you, and you'll strike up the relationship through those interactions. But if you just give one line or one sentence responses, it's like it's hard to interact.
Yeah. So talking about the skills that the students need to have once they graduated, what do you find, Dora? What skills do you see in the students acquired in the masters that is useful for them when they go to the market, and what other skills they should be also working on?
The management and the leadership toolkits. Our curriculum has a lot of tools. No matter what your major or concentration is, there are just certain business and operational and leadership tools that is throughout the curriculum that I think are great. So I'll give you an example, which is, doing a SWOT analysis. When that is something that real leaders do at their organizations. I went from using SMART goal setting to SMARTY, which is embedding inclusion and equity into the process. That's another tool. It's a business and a leadership tool. It doesn't matter what your concentration is. So I found that using real world practical tools that are used in the boardroom, that are used by leadership and organizations is really helpful. And I think, I am biased because I'm an adjunct. So I have practical experience, just not in academia. So I really find that the students get a lot of value out of listening to my practical experience actually working with leadership, with CEOs, with executive directors, with teams. And so I think that is something that I think most of CUNY, most of John Jay, that makes it unique is that we have such a faculty that is rich real world experience that can really be shared across the curriculum. And I think those are very important skills to model. And now with the introduction of AI, I know it's kind of controversial and some faculty are yay or nay, but I just find that incorporating how to properly use AI is also something really important across the curriculum and in the department. It doesn't matter what you're learning. It's an important skill set. It is the future. It's here to stay, whether you like it or not. And so I think making sure that we are staying current and continuously learning and interacting with the students on best practices, not just in research and in writing, but also how to use those tools out there that are important to get your work done.
Tell us about you. I'm curious about the Coach Dora. How you begin entrepreneur? How do you begin?
So I always wanted to start my own business. I was always, even when I was an investigator, because I was a bilingual investigator, and I would train all kinds of women, usually survivors of domestic violence and of sexual harassment before the Me Too movement, on their rights. And I just really loved engaging with community, in community. I love teaching. I just love engaging with people. And I always wanted to, and during that time, during my whole career, I would facilitate workshops, do trainings, I would volunteer to, create educational programs everywhere I was. And then I realized, I could get paid for that. So I said, why don't I do something that I love? I'm still serving people. I'm still serving people. I'm still doing something positive. I'm helping people to learn and grow. And so I took the plunge. I got to the top, the C-suite. I was an executive, all the way at the top. And then I was like, it's time to now take all of everything that I learned and work for myself and work with the people that I care about. And so I started Coach Dora in March 2024. And I do fractional CHO work. So I do work for an organization as their chief HRO officer on a part-time basis. And then I travel. You see me in the hotel room. I'm here in Chicago. I'm facilitating a workshop for an organization. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I'm in a phase in my life where I want to do what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I'm still serving people. And I'm still teaching at John Jay because I feel like the students help keep me up to date just as much as I'm helping to set them up for success. I feel like it's not a top-down situation. We're sort of learning and growing together. And I started Coach Dora because I wanted to do what I love and prosper on my purpose.
That's very nice. Very, very, very inspired. Very inspired. Dr. Jason, tell us about what the students need to know, the students who are thinking to come to our program. What they should be doing, what they will preparing themselves. Yesterday I was with a student and we visit the admission centers and they give me some tips they give a hint to some tips about things that the person that should be doing in order to apply to the programs?
So I would definitely, if anyone is considering coming to our programs, one thing I would definitely do is reach out to our academic advisors to have a conversation with them around what does the coursework look like? What are you interested in? Are you interested in the online program or the in-person program to better facilitate what your particular needs are, right? Because you don't want to it's very difficult. I would say the school doesn't make it necessarily easy to change that decision later on. So really understanding what you're getting into ahead of time is exceedingly important. You also students should really take a look at what exactly their end goal job or profession might be. Now, granted, that changes with the breeze at this point, but at the same time, you want to be able to enter the program and pick, and there are electives in our program, to pick classes that help you get to that desired goal. And so students, for example, that I interact with that are interested in emergency management types of fields, I tell them, yes, obviously you have to take the core MPA classes, but I also direct them to the generalist emergency management classes. But then there are also other technical skill sets that they really want to take before they enter the field based on what practitioners and the job market are actually talking to, right? So if the field really likes or utilizes statistics, for example, that's an extremely marketable skill for a large number of employers. Yes, not many students may not like taking those classes, but having that base tool is a highly marketable skill set for any discipline. And so that is one of the other things that I would say is know what, or at least try to know as best you can, what you want to do with the degree. Because I have found that the students that finish faster and are able to get the most out of the educational process are those that have sat down, looked at what they need to get from A to B, and they plan out the steps of, this is what I should take to get what I want to desire to be when, for lack of a better way of putting it, when I grow up, right? And so we try to give students counseling on that. I also suggest that people outside of the academic space go speak to people in the profession that you're interested in being in, right? Talk to people that are in those workspaces and say, what should I be learning? What are the types of skill sets that I should be looking at? What is the job that I'm most intended to get in this field coming out of a degree program like this? What is the salary I may be looking at when I get out of this program? Because every student wants to say that there is a direct benefit, direct payoff when they're done this process. So doing your homework, not only with the school, potential employers later on, but then also your professors. What I also would argue is students are retained and they finish either faster or with better GPAs when they have a good rapport with their professors. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all the professors, but having at least one or two individuals that they can key into, that can sit down and have interactive conversations with outside of the classroom, are really things that I think are important for anybody going into any degree program, quite honestly, anywhere.
Thank you very much. That was very, I would like to add something else. I learned that yesterday talking with the counselors in John Jay. For international students, there is a section in the website. You can click international, and there is an explanation which company you have to go to send your your bachelor certificate. They can validate, and you need to do the validation. So that was also interesting to me that we actually have a list of companies who can do that. So that was Dora. I would like you to tell me, for a student, for students who will graduated in 10 days. So what they will expect from the world, what will be advices for students who are about to leave for master program?
I have to say that a public management degree is so versatile. It is versatile. And you really can use it wherever, because it's about leadership. It's about being a leader. And I want to say, stay positive despite all the noise and the rhetoric. You know, John, first of all, John Jay, we stick together. Our alum are out there and are movers and shakers, and we support each other. So I just want to tell our students, stay positive. This degree is versatile. The John Jay community will never leave you.
That's and the professor will never leave you to. Dora, you're a great professor. I hear that the students follow you and you keep advising them even after they leave.
I've hired a few in my HR position.
You see, tell
graduated. No conflict, but after they graduated.
So that was it. So I just want to end the conversation telling everybody thank you very much for being there. There's a lot of people watching in this moment, and please share with others. This is Graduate Power. We're doing that every week. We talk with a professor and alumni, so you can learn more about us. And thank you very much. Thank you, Jason Rivera, for being here, Dora Mendez, and this is Sofia Morote from Public Management. Bye.
Thank you.